that's where, we do have to be really clear and specific when we are talking about these things, especially within our like organizing groups, within our like more intimate groups, because what I'm seeing, and like, it comes as no surprise that like the media is talking about this like it is a surprise. Um, we know what the Silicon Valley ethos is, and it is white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. It is colonialism. It is, we must dominate. We have the right answer to the world, and therefore we are going to enact that on everyone. And like, even though we are in a different era and they wear, you know, vests and, whatever Mark Zuckerberg wears is his ridiculous curly hair and his surfer bro attitude, like at the end of the day, these are still white supremacists and we need to call that out, and be very clear about what they are trying to do so that we can then move forward and actually create that action.
Yeah, and I think it points at two things which are really important, and I won't go super deep, but I think they're worth mentioning is like one is when people like, Elon Musk and Sam Altman, who runs OpenAI, and some of these other kind of like titans of, sort of tech in Silicon Valley, like when they talk about creating sort of beneficial tech that's good for the future of humanity, they often talk about like AGI or artificial intelligence, which is like this idea that like there would be this general AI that could just sort of take over and control, and that doesn't exist, and it's a long way off, but they're using that as a distraction from the fact that they want to control everything and everyone, and like sort of have the decision making about what is important, or what the narratives are. And and that comes from that place of like, we are gods. It comes from a long history of eugenics and other kind of like segregationist and racist thinking and acting. And I would just also be remiss if I didn't mention, like, I think for folks who have not run across it, like, you absolutely required reading Dr. Timnit Gebru, who used to work at Google on AI work, and her co-author Emil Torres wrote a fantastic piece of research last year called the TESCREAL Bundle. I think it was just about sort of eugenics and the promise of like this utopia through artificial
Mm.
general intelligence, something like that. Go look it up. The TESCREAL Bundle is sort of the short name. It's a must read because it really connects 20 to 30 years of Silicon Valley history, including researchers that worked at Stanford and other notable places that sort of like laundered this concept with that we're talking about through all these institutions and all of these venture capital funds, et cetera. And I'm a person who's worked in tech and startups, and I see the good and the bad. I mean, it's a mixed bag, but the part of it that's darkest and scariest and most dangerous is the part we're talking about, which comes from this like, this is not about, make no mistake, like there's no reason to talk about efficiency or DEI here. This is about segregation. That's what people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and other people are bringing to their efforts to reform. And by reform, I mean take over the federal government.
Yeah. Yeah. And